It's time now to check your money with America's money maven, Vicki Brackens. Vicki Brackens is the president of Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of LPL Financial, member SIPC. Vicki, good morning.
Good morning, George. And I'm going to say one word to you. Show me the money.
Show me the money.
That movie?
You remember that? And that wasn't the name of the movie, though, was it?
No, Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire. There you go. There you go.
Jerry Maguire was the name of the movie. But what came out of that movie was the saying, show me the money.
Cuba Gooding Jr. and Tom Cruise. Okay. Yes.
Tom Cruise. Okay. And the reason I'm saying that is today we're going to be talking about show me the money.
Okay.
Because I promised everyone a couple of weeks ago that we were going to delve into the Federal Reserve, but because of some timeliness on some news that came out, we delayed it another week. But today is about showing me the money, because we are still having many conversations, which I'm sure we will continually for the next several months, maybe next year, concerning inflation and what is happening with the Federal Reserve. But as you and I were discussing some time ago, I had not really spent any time talking about what the Federal Reserve really is. And it was time for us to really have that conversation. So we're going to talk about the central bank.
Sure.
Because that is what the Federal Reserve is. It is the central bank. It is the mainstay of the economy and the monetary system and monetary policy for the nation. A central bank, and by the way, it's really odd that the Federal Reserve, which was put into place back in 1913, actually December 23rd of 1913, the U.S. was probably one of the last major countries, as far as what we call your big countries, your major countries, to enact a Federal Reserve system. But back in 1913, the central bank was formed through legislation to do these things: to act as the central bank for monetary authority for the United States, to provide for the country a safe and flexible and stable monetary and financial system. And it's composed of 12 regional Federal Reserve banks that is responsible for a specific geographic area. The Fed's main duty includes conducting monetary policy, supervising and regulating banks, maintaining financial stability, providing banking services through what's called the Open Market Committee, as far as setting out what's going to be the country's money supply. So here's that word again, George: supply.
Supply. Yeah. And
supply. Okay?
Yes. And you
country's money supply.
There you go.
Okay, so if we're thinking about supply and demand and all of those things that we've heard before, I don't think we've really stopped to think about the fact that the supply of money, of cash in the system, drives economic activity. The more money that's in the system, the more that's available, activity increases. The less money that's in the system, activity as far as financial activity decreases. And interest rates run in a yin-yang position with the supply of money. So now, what do you think we should talk about next, George? Here's Vicki's opinion, but I want to hear yours. I'm going to say mine a little bit later.
Well, I mean, right now, I would say, and everybody's talking about inflation and what the Reserve has to do with that. So,
well, that is, they have two mandates: making sure we have economic stability.
Mm-hmm.
You feel very stable in this inflationary period?
No. Have you been to the store lately?
Yeah, I have been to the store lately. Okay, so that we have economic stability and that we have full employment. And those are two pushes and pulls that the Federal Reserve is responsible for. So the raising and lowering of interest rates and the buying back of bonds is what they use as tools in order to control how much money is supplied into the system. So you probably heard that during the time frame, I'm trying to think of all the Federal Reserve chairmen that you probably lived to, or most people have heard about. We had what we call Mr. Bernanke.
Yeah.
Okay, Bernanke was during the time frame that of the economic crisis. During George Bush's administration, and when we had Lehman Brothers go under, and we had the Great Recession. Okay,
Yep.
Not the Depression, the Great Recession. Then we had Janet Yellen. Okay, Janet Yellen, who came right at the end of that time period and started to throttle back on as far as the supply of bonds into the economy, so that we could drive interest rates down further and get to what we would call full employment levels.
Okay.
But who do you remember most?
Well, I went back. You know what? Because as you were talking, I said I got to do a quick search because I couldn't remember.
Okay.
I couldn't remember his name, so I did it. I did it backwards. I was like, "Who is Andrea Mitchell's husband? Who's on MSNBC? Alan Greenspan."
Greenspan. Okay. So I would say, okay, very similar to Dr. Fauci. The Federal Reserve became a very public and almost like a rock star kind of situation during the time of Greenspan. Alan Greenspan elevated the persona of the Federal Reserve so that we started to watch more and more, because actually the Federal Reserve is an independent operation. They are not actually controlled by Congress or by the president. They're supposed to stand independently.
Though they're appointed by the president, though, right?
They are appointed. Yeah, exactly. The chairman is appointed by the president, but they are not actually ratified. They do, the government does not ratify. Congress ratifies some of the actions of the Federal Reserve. But you were right. Alan Greenspan was the time period when the Federal Reserve was elevated to a much more public institution than it had been in the past. So here's the thing that I want to encourage everybody to do. And it's one of the things I learned about our federal government and our tax dollars. The Smithsonian's system, as far as the museums are concerned, when you go to DC, you can just about tour anything there for free.
Yep.
And I said, show me the money. So I went over to the Mint. I went over to the Treasury Department. You can take a tour of the Treasury Department and watch them print the money. Bail after bail.
They showed you the money, Vicki. They showed you the money.
They showed me the money. Okay. I am also encouraging those of you, which I have not had a chance to do yet, but you can also tour the vault where the gold is at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York for free. It's because you're a citizen. Okay. Because that's what they do with your tax dollars. So I'm going to encourage everyone, if you really want to get more in-depth information and see the intricacies of what happens in the Treasury Department and learn the intricacies of what happens at the Federal Reserve Bank, to go ahead and schedule one of those tours. There are 12 locations for Federal Reserve banks: Minneapolis, Chicago, Cleveland, Boston, New York City, Philadelphia, Richmond, Virginia, Atlanta, St. Louis, Kansas City, Dallas, and San Francisco.
San Francisco, yeah, I knew
San Francisco.
Yeah.
Okay. Schedule a tour. Go and learn about the money. Go and see what happens. Get some in-depth information and knowledge of the Federal Reserve systems, because those institutions, those Federal Reserve banks and the Federal Reserve, the 9 governors of the Federal Reserve, control the monetary policy that keeps the financial system stable in this country. Well, George, I'm going to stop at this point in time, but encourage everyone that if you have questions, give me a call at area code 315-930-4499, 315-930-4499. You can also reach us at info@Brackens, Brackens, FSN.com. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And at this point in time, I will say our plate is full.
All right, thank you very much, Vicki Brackens. Vicki Brackens is the president of Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of LPL Financial, member SIPC. She is America's money maven.